Hello, this is Jioli. Welcome back to Talk with the Global Group today. I'm thrilled to welcome back here a legendary investor, Jim Rogers. Jim Rogers, along with Warren Buffett and George Soros, is considered one of the world's top 3 investors. In the 1970s, when the S&P 500 was up 47%, he rose to fame with Soros at a profit of 4,200. He currently serves as the chairman of Rogers Holdings. Very good to have you back with us, Jim.
Hello to Korea Economic TV. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are.
You have said many times that an economic crisis worse than the 2008 financial crisis will come. What is the rationale behind this view?
Well, in 2008 and 2009, we had a big problem in the world because of too much debt. Well, as you know, Ms. Lee, since 2009, the debt everywhere has skyrocketed. Debt is much, much, much higher now than it was then. So the next time we have a problem, it has to be much, much worse because the debt is so high. I mean, it seems simple to me. If you have much more debt than you had the last time, it's got to be a very bad problem. 15 years ago, 20 years ago, China did not have much debt. Now, even China has a lot of debt. Everybody has a lot of debt now. So it's going to be very bad. It has to be.
When will the real crisis become a reality?
You should watch Korea Economic News. They will tell you. Well, probably sometime in the next year or so, but watch Korea Economic News.
The Fed's interest rate hike, which has a major impact on the economy, continues. There is also an expectation that the Fed will raise interest rates again soon. What stand do you think the Fed should take?
This is caused by the Fed. The Fed printed staggering amounts of money, like has never been done before in world history, and borrowed huge amounts of money. So the Fed caused this problem. What they need to do is reverse what they have been doing, stop printing money, and raise interest rates and tighten up. I hope they will do it. But, they have to do a lot because the situation has gotten so bad. It has never been this bad. When we had a problem in the 1970s, and it was different, but we had a problem, interest rates went over 20% on United States Treasury bills because things were so bad. Interest rates will have to go very, very high this time to solve the problem.
You have warned that the stock market will also start the worst bear market. Do you think the bear market has started now? How much more will the leading index fall? For the worst bear market in history, as you say, the S&P should be down at least 50% from its high.
How much more will it fall? Well, when we have bear markets, usually the indexes go down 50, 60, 70%. Some stocks go down 80 or 90%. That's just the way bear markets work. That's how you can go back and look it up all over the world and throughout history. So that will happen again. When will it start? I don't know. It may have already started, as you point out. My problem, my reaction to that question that way is, there's so much pessimism around now. And usually when there's a lot of pessimism, something happens to make people less pessimistic. An example might be, suppose there were peace in Ukraine. I didn't say there would be, but suppose there would be. If there is, then everybody will get very optimistic. We'll have a big, big rally, but that will be the last rally. That will be the end because we are getting towards the end. I see the signs. Stocks go up a lot. Many stocks are extremely expensive. Lots of new investors come into the market. They call their friends and tell them how easy the stock market is. So all of this has happened before. It's starting to happen again. So we're getting closer to the end, probably in the next year or so. Watch Korea Economic News.
Which stocks will survive in a bear market? Do you think it is safe to invest in blue chip stocks like Samsung Electronics in Korea or Apple in the US?
Well, when there's a bear market, usually nearly everything goes down all over the world. There are some things that don't go down. If there's something that's unique, for whatever reason, it might not go down. Next time, I mean, in previous bear markets, gold and silver go down a lot at first, but then when people get really worried, they start buying gold and silver then go up. But usually at first they go down too. So that might be a way to help you. Agriculture might be a way to help this time because agriculture has been bad for a long time and we got to have food and agriculture is having many problems. So I own agriculture. I own silver and gold. I am looking for things that will help. There's a country called Uzbekistan, which has been depressed for many years. It's starting to change dramatically, but it's very cheap, and it's changing. So I have been buying a few things in Uzbekistan recently, just because it's such a disaster that is changing. If you can find things like that, you might survive.
As asset prices have already soared amid inflation, you have recommended focusing on raw material investment from now on. Do you think the energy, agriculture, and gold are still promising? Could you give me a priority among these?
Of those, I would say agriculture is probably the priority, but just because it's been so depressed for so long, and there are billions of people in the world who want to eat. So I would say agriculture. If you can buy agriculture, that's probably would be my priority. But all of them will do well, should do well in the future, and there will be other things too. I don't know what, for instance, transportation has been hurt badly by the virus. Things that get hurt badly usually will recover a lot when there's a recovery. You have a word in Korean. It means that means disaster and opportunity are the same thing. You know, in Asia, you've been around longer than we have, and we don't have that word in English. You've been around longer than we have, so you know that when there's a disaster, there's also an opportunity.
In particular, it is difficult to keep track of international oil prices. If you would recommend investing, are there any companies or ETFs to invest in?
Well, I've invested in an an energy ETF, yes, because it's simple to invest in them. For me to invest in an ETF, but I'm sure that there are companies that will do well. I don't know. I don't know any companies that I will tell you because my problem is, Ms. Lee, if I give you the name, then everybody buys it, and people should not buy something unless they know what they're doing. So I have used an ETF because that makes it simple to invest in energy. For me, makes it simple, and I'm lazy.
Cryptocurrency cannot be left out. Recently, there is a hope for cryptocurrency as a hedge against inflation. How do you see the future of cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin?
Well, I don't see that why cryptocurrencies are a hedge against inflation. Most things that are hedges against inflation have a practical use. Uh, Cryptocurrencies are trading vehicles, but there's nothing you can do with them. I mean, you can't go and buy ice cream with a cryptocurrency. Things like silver and other things that are traditional inflation hedges have a practical use. I don't know any practical use for cryptocurrencies except as trading vehicles. So I don't see why that would be a good inflation hedge.
So what is the reason for Bitcoin's rise?
Well, as I said to you before, at the end of bull markets, always new people come into the markets and they talk about how investing is so easy and how you can make money. And it attracts a lot of new people and they start investing in new things and new ways. It happens at the end of nearly every bull market. And, you know, SPACs, for instance, you've probably heard of SPACs. SPACs have been around for a few hundred years. Well, SPACs have a revival too at the end of bull market. And SPACs have had a revival again. People find new things at the end of bull markets, and they start trading, investing. In my view, these cryptocurrencies are just another indication that we're coming towards the end of a bull market.
As bear market fears intensify, the strong dollar continues. In fact, the dollar has been strong for more than a decade. However, there are many voices predicting the end of dollar era. How do you see?
Well, I own a lot of U.S. dollars, as you probably know. The U.S. dollar is a very flawed currency. America is the largest debtor nation in the history of the world, and the debt is getting worse every week. So you probably should say, well, why do you own it then? I own it because when there's turmoil, people look for a safe haven. And many people think the U.S. dollar is a safe haven because of historical reasons. So the U.S. dollar will continue to get strong as we have problems. It will probably get overpriced. It could turn into a bubble. If it does, I hope I'm smart enough to sell my U.S. dollars because we are coming to the end. No world currency has lasted more than 100 years or so. So the U.S. is coming to the end. I don't know when it will end, but I know we're getting near. So I am looking for what will replace or will compete with the U.S. dollar. If you know, Miss Lee, please do not announce it. Send me an email. send me an email so I can buy it too. I don't know what it is.
Stock market in Japan and China, where liquidity is still loosening, are better than in the U.S. Could these countries be an investment alternative?
Well, I own Chinese shares, and I'm of the view that China is going to be, as you know, China's had a dramatic change in the last 40 years or so. Is now the second or largest economy in the world, and people are doing very well in China. I expect that to continue, but no country goes up straight up all the time without problems along the way. We had many problems. That America became the most successful country in the 20th century, but we had many problems along the way. China will certainly have problems. It looks like they're having property bankruptcies now. That's normal. But as I say, it's normal. America had many problems and became extremely successful. I expect China will certainly have problems and will become extremely successful. I do not see any other country right now that can become the most important country in the 21st century except China. Now, Korea, once the 38th parallel once the DMZ is open, the Korean Peninsula is going to be very, very, very exciting. It will be the most exciting country in the world for 10, 20, 30 years or so. But that hasn't happened yet. But if and when that happens, Korea is going to be very exciting. It will not be the most exciting country in the century, like China might be, but it will be very, very exciting.
How about Japan? In particular, you have even predicted the fall of Japan in the past.
Japan has serious problems. The population has been declining since 2010. The debt is skyrocketing every day. They're printing huge amounts of money. It's a high-cost place to do business. No, I don't see anything except more problems ahead for Japan. I own some Japanese shares because the central bank is buying shares, printing money and buying shares. But no, I don't see. I only see problems ahead for Japan. I'm sad about it because Japan's a wonderful country, but facts are facts.
You mentioned that Korea is also an attractive investment destination. However, recently the sharp rise in the $1 exchange rate has become a problem. What kind of impact will it have on the Korean economy as well as the stock market in general?
Well, the won situation is actually good for some people, but it makes them more competitive. A cheaper won makes it easier for Koreans to sell some products to other countries. It makes it much more expensive for you to buy things, for you to buy, especially to buy imports. But no, I mean, the problem with the won and many currencies is Korea's built up a lot of debt, as you know. And it's a very closed economy. It's amazing what a closed economy it is. If you were more open to the outside world, I suspect that the currency would be improved. And certainly once you open the DMZ, the currency is going to be very, very good.
Should we raise interest rates like the US did?
Everybody has a big inflation problem now because everybody printed a lot of money and built up a lot of debt. So everybody who made mistakes is going to have to deal with that problem, including Korea, South Korea. Yes, you have the same problem that everybody else does. We all have the problem. It was started in Washington, D.C., but most countries joined in and did the same thing. So we all have the problem. Nearly all countries have the problem.
Lastly, what advice would you give to individual investors?
Well, Ms. Lee, first of all, they should all watch Korea Business News. You know that. Everybody should watch Korea Business News and they will learn from you. But if they want to survive what is coming, they should invest only in what they themselves know a lot about. You should not watch me on TV or internet or something. You should not listen to somebody in the newspaper. You should only invest in what you know about. If somebody tells you to invest in something and you do, you don't know what to do if it goes up. You don't know what to do if it goes down because you don't know why you bought it in the first place. You can say to everybody how smart you are, but you don't know what to do. Or if it goes down, you will blame the person you saw on the internet. But no, if you want to be successful, just wait until you find something that you know a lot about and that you know is going to be successful, and then you invest. That's how you become successful. Basically, if I told you you could only have 20 investments in your life, you would be very careful about your investments and you would be a successful investor. Now, some people will say, oh, that's boring. Be boring. If you want to be a success, be boring, okay?
Jim, thank you for taking the time today.
Well, thank you, Ms. Lee. It was fun, and I hope we can do it again sometimes.
네, 오늘은 짐 로저스 홀딩스 회장과 이야기 나눠봤습니다. 로저스 회장은 경기 불황과 함께 닥칠 약세장은 우리 생애에서 최악이 될 것으로 경고했습니다. 한국의 삼성전자나 미국의 애플 같은 대형 우량주도 안심할 수만은 없는 상황이라는 건데 여전히 유망한 투자처로는 농업을 꼽았다는 점도 참고하시기를 바라겠습니다. 글로벌 구루에게 듣는다 여기까지입니다. 시청해주신 여러분 고맙습니다.